Well, Sundar Pichai, God bless you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure seeing you as well.
I've been following you for years, and your success is absolute inspiration for all of us.
Thank you, and I grew up watching you on the news channel as well. So
kindergarten, right?
I wasn't quite kindergarten. I was in college by then.
Wow. Okay, but I say that we are all inspired by you, but there's a real puzzle. Two things. One, you're not a dropout. How can you be so successful? And B, you're a good guy. Don't you have to be slightly nasty to be successful?
Well, first of all, IIT was too much fun to actually drop out. Okay. And so wasn't there a movie about it or something?
Yes.
Yeah, it was more like that. So, I had too much fun
That's
to
lovely.
drop out. And, I've always felt, being a good guy and doing well aren't necessarily at odds with each other. So always felt that in life.
I also totally believe that. And I think you've reflected in your handling of Google and how you've changed it, the ethos here, and the kind of teamwork and people enjoying everybody's company and working together, right?
Yeah, I always felt, even if you work 40 hours a week, you spend more time at work than the rest of your waking time. And so I've always felt it's important that it be fun, you work with people you like, and it feels like a team and you're in it together. So I've always cherished that.
That's why I've talked to a lot of Google people, and they say it starts from you. That's wonderful. Now, Android is one of your, look at that guy there. But actually what I got more interested in, look at that.
The droid
droids
restroom
for the
sign.
restrooms. It's like everywhere. Android
you're close to the place where Android gets built, so.
Yeah, I'm told this is one of the buildings where not too many people come, so we're quite privileged to be here. And to go out into the main campus, two problems. One is security, and B, you'll be mobbed. So,
our campus here is public space, so anyone can come, and so we don't restrict access here.
Wonderful. That's just the kind of openness that you have is beautiful. I just want to walk in. One of the things I love about, you won't believe it, about Google Maps, it gives me, lowers my tension. Because I know I'm going to take 42 minutes to get from here to there. If I'm in a traffic jam, it doesn't matter. It's still 42 minutes. Because you've already, in the old days, you think, oh God, I'm getting late. But now, traffic jams are within an overall scheme of things, thanks to Google Maps, right?
Yeah, I love using Google Maps, and in India, I think it actually works well. We are constantly trying to make it better, but I think traffic in India is a challenge. But so hopefully, Maps makes a small difference. But I think
it does make a huge difference, and tension too. It's wonderful actually, and a lot of it was developed in India, right? Google Maps.
That's right. One of the India is where when we had this insight, a team from India felt like the stuff to get data around maps. And so they basically said, wherever there are missing roads, we actually will let users, just like Wikipedia, edit and complete map routes and so on. And so that insight really changed how fast we've been building maps since then.
Well, I don't have a Google Maps quite as big as this. But look at that. This is where we are.
Yeah, this is the picture of Google here, right here. You're looking at it from top.
If you look at the umbrellas, right? That's a clear sign. That's the Google. That's
where people sit and have their lunches in good California weather. So it's pretty nice most of the year to do that.
And one of the big things about Google campus is you've got a food place every 20 yards or something. You just get best food in the world is here in Google.
There is plenty of food. We joke around. There's something called the Google 15. That when you join Google, within the first year, people tend to gain about 15 pounds. So there's actually the same.
Google 15.
Google 15. So everyone tries to watch out. So
that's a good one, actually. And let me just show you something from here, and in context to where we've just come from. So that's California. Go right across the world, and
to Archana complexes that you're.
Oh wow! How do you know that? There we are. You can see.
Oh.
NDTV, that's on our roof.
Oh,
the signs.
That's really nice.
So we've come a long way. But actually, I feel the Google campus and NDTV look very similar.
Yeah, few umbrellas there. Are they umbrellas or something
else? Dishes.
Dishes, I figured.
Because we are uplinking, downlinking all our feeds and stuff. But one day we'll take you around there as well.
Very nice. The world is getting smaller by the day.
Look at that. And I took a flight, Air India, exactly the same.
I've been meaning to do that direct flight from San Francisco to Delhi. I'm excited.
Now tell me a little bit about what you feel is really the next big thing, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning. You know, there's a bit of a controversy. Elon Musk says it's the most dangerous thing. World War III will be caused by artificial intelligence. And Zuckerberg says that's rubbish, don't look. I'm paraphrasing. What are the dangers of artificial intelligence?
Look, artificial intelligence for sure, over the long run, is the most powerful technology humans will invent.
Wow.
And
well, that's saying a lot, given what we've had.
That's right. And so for sure, I think we need to have thoughtful concerns about, do we end up developing something that we cannot control?
Yeah.
And
right.
so I think there are deep, real concerns. I don't think we have the answers. I do believe we are still in very early days. So the good news is it is still far away. But I'm also equally convinced it is going to be more beneficial than anything that has ever happened before. And a lot of the benefits will start playing out in the next couple of decades. And so the important thing here is to harness the benefits, but thoughtfully developing it over time so that we avoid some of the pitfalls.
Give me an example of a danger.
Because with artificial intelligence, let's say first of all.
By the way, I know you like walking. That's why you don't like standing in one place.
No, I used to. When I was young, both me and my brother would walk back and forth in the house all the time, and so it would drive my mom crazy.
So this is like.
So I'm trying to slow down. I'm slow down and walking.
Sorry, I interrupted. Yeah. What are the dangers?
I mean, the simplest example that gets talked about is one day these AI systems are super intelligent. They are more intelligent than humans, and so they have their own free will, if you will,
wow.
and they're optimizing for something else, and they may make decisions which aren't necessarily to the benefit of humanity. Those are those far out concerns,
so
right?
What is the probability of, or percentage chance of World War III being caused by artificial intelligence, who kill human beings because we get in their way? Because what you do as designers, you say you got to the robot or the artificial intelligence, you got to get from here to here, whatever happens, and you get rewards. And if a human comes in the way,
those are
what is the probability?
Look, I have a lot of faith in our global systems and how we would approach this, and I think it's important as an industry we self-regulate and have strong ethical approaches to how we do this.
Okay.
There are good examples to be borrowed from genetics and, over the last 30, 40 years, how the scientific community, the biological community has approached this.
And medical communities.
Medical communities have done that. And, I think these are important issues, but I for sure am optimistic that, we can work our way through it.
There are dangers, so you're more leaning towards be very careful of dangers?
You have to be to get this right. And
you mentioned medical and genetics. Medical community affects the world and everybody in a massive way in social impact, but they do have a lot of protocols, and they do have FDA, and they have all kinds of restrictions. Yeah. While the beauty of the internet and companies like yours, it's in a free world. Okay. So do you feel a little more self-regulation is needed for things like this?
We are in such early days, so part of it is you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Today our computers cannot learn and understand things like a third grader can, right? And so, and so that's what makes it, we have to be careful. But any industries AI is going to affect already are regulated industries. So tomorrow if AI can shape healthcare, it has to work through the regulations in healthcare.
You're working quite a lot on that.
That's right. In fact, I see that as one of the biggest areas where the benefits will play out over the next 10 to 20 years. And we had recently done work on diabetic retinopathy. It's a cause of blindness. But using AI, machine learning, we can detect it much better than humans can. Wow. So getting a tool like that in the next 10 years in the hands of doctors, think about rural places in India. You don't have, ophthalmologists trained and right there in those villages to help diagnose people. Software, AI will help any doctor diagnose people. and and maybe detect blindness earlier. It's completely curable if
What's the kind
detected.
of a dream thing that AI can bring in?
That's
Any
right.
other example like that? The dreams that AI can.
I do think we will need AI to even solve problems like climate change over time, right? To be able to model, understand what's happening, and tackle it. Those will be
I
big.
hate to tell you something. My environmentalist friends say the biggest cause of environmental degradation are human beings.
Yeah.
So the robots may say, it's human beings that are causing this problem, get rid of them and we'll have a better earth. Animals will live longer.
No, the right way to think about it, humans should use AI to make the world cleaner,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so we won't have this problem.
Yeah. In terms of AI, I just heard yesterday, I've been traveling around the valley, and there's a massive study using AI on India.
Mm-hmm.
And they've checked and they look into the future, and they're predicting there will be civil war in India within the next 5 to 10 years. Now, should AI...
Based on AI?
Yeah. And data, of course, big data, all the...
I'm just not concerned about that. I think we should worry about a lot of things, but scenarios like that seem far-fetched to me.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you say this got in some ways better than human beings at analyzing. So that could, when you hear an AI, impartial, non-political machine with machine learning comes out with a forecast, it worries a bit, right?
Of course, but to even get, we are still remarkably far away. We are making extraordinary progress in certain things. For example, AI is able to now translate much better than ever before, right? Close to human level translation.
I wanted to ask you about translation.
Yeah.
When are you going to have simultaneous translation? And you can talk to anybody, and they can talk in their language, you talk in yours. You're getting there, right?
Look, we've constantly made progress, but I do think, in a few days we will be talking about something by which you can wear it in your ears, and you can speak between two people, and it'll make this process of translation more seamless. But I think we are a few years away from which, in two people, regardless of the language they know, can just converse with each other. And that is absolutely, in line of sight. And even a few days from now, our first headsets will take a good step in that direction.
Wow, October the 4th, you're going to be announcing something like that?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Because that is like mind-blowing impact on humanity, because you can go anywhere and talk to anybody.
We aren't quite there yet, but it'll take the first step in that direction.
On
but
October the 4th, and then we'll move on after that.
Yeah, and we'll continue to build from there.
Okay. One of the things, while we're talking about the future, strangely enough, I don't know, maybe wrong to say strangely enough, but India has done certain things that are being used around the world. A lot of, for example, you've got lighter products because we have less bandwidth and less speed in India. Yeah. Give us some examples of what's happening, worked on in India that's being used around the world.
There are several examples. Maps, we talked about maps earlier.
Lighter maps.
And YouTube Go, so the ability to actually cache videos offline, watch it whenever you want to. We started in India, we are taking it globally. We recently launched a product called Googleplex, and for payments. We are able to do it in India first because of the digital payments infrastructure, which India has done. So we're doing it in India, and we're going to take it to the rest of the world and say, look, this is how you do it.
That makes you feel good,
very proud.
Yeah, but taking the whole idea of lightness, you need to have much lighter apps and lighter systems. That's something a Chinese browser company discovered in India a long time ago, and they've got 60% of the market, according to them. Maybe it's 50 or 60, but a lot.
Yeah.
How are you tackling that? How are you tackling the Chinese because they're smart, right?
Yeah. Look, our data shows otherwise. But it's good. Innovation should come from everywhere, and I think the way when we build products, those are all good signals for us to understand. Okay, where we can do better, and we've adapted and made Chrome better, right?
Yes,
and
lighter.
Lighter and faster, and so that's beginning to work.
So when we talk about AI and privacy, and it is a worry how much privacy will companies like yours guarantee, because you there is something called data colonization. You have so much data. You know when I eat, whatever I do, what I like, because I see what I've done here, I see it on another. When I want to buy something, it's there.
We actually don't know all that, but the way I think about it is, first of all, the biggest risk for data for anyone is security. Getting compromised from a security aspect.
Right.
So just like your money is safer with the bank or something like that.
Yes.
We work so hard to build some of the most secure systems in the world. So we
You
work
do.
very hard to protect your data. As a company, we realize every single day, users will only use us if they trust us as an institution.
Yes.
So,
So how important is data security and privacy in
it is at the foundation of everything we do. Whenever we build anything new, we start with how do we, in a foundational way, secure and the data and give users privacy. And on top of that, we do everything else.
And nobody can hack into it and suddenly.
You work every day. You never say nobody can. Security, you have to earn it every day. But I think we are state of the art in terms of what we do to protect, users' data and give security to our users.
Somehow I feel, and I totally believe that, and I trust Google, and I use it without any hassle. But I worry about. I don't want to sound parochial, but will the Chinese or the Russians have a similar focus on privacy and security, because we are using their browsers as well?
Generally, I feel one of the things we all do, a lot of our products are open source.
Yes.
So people can inspect their products. And, so I think this is why partly we do our products the way we do it. I think it's good for all of us to be worried about security and privacy always.
You didn't answer my question. I totally agree that you will look after, and America will probably be really at the forefront. But with this internet and data colonization, will other countries do it? Will India do it?
I think so. Over time, users will demand it. The state of what IT is doing for people, over time, just like in healthcare, you demand standards. I think users will demand.
It will come from users.
And they will vote with what they use otherwise, right?
And if you don't trust it, you won't use that browser.
That's right. Browsers or phone or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, but it is worrying. And we have in India, as you know, the Aadhaar card, which is, in my opinion, a revolution. It's wonderful. But there's a lot of worry that everything is connected to it. Your phone, your bank account, your tax, everything, which can be very positively used, but it can also be misused. How do we ensure that as users, that it's not misused?
I can see all the benefits that would come from a system like that.
Aadhaar.
Aadhaar.
Yeah.
But I think it's important because it has a centralized aspect to it. You have to put the right checks and balances in the system. It's no different from a constitution and a democracy and a court system. Right. You have to have the equivalent in a system like Aadhaar to say, with that power comes a great responsibility, right. And what are the checks and balances in the system?
I hate to say it, but our politicians, I don't have the greatest faith in them. They're not the most trusted in India by all surveys. And to get one against each other, they could break that privacy. How does one stop that? It's a worry.
Which is why I linked, it cannot be a political solution alone, right?
Yes.
The solution has to be, has to have foundations in the law and in the constitution, right. And with an active judiciary to support it. That's right. How you have to design most of these systems. Right. I think the same thing applies to something that foundational.
Yeah. So Aadhaar, would you, one or two things you would say that should be done to make Aadhaar, make us trust it. Our problem is people don't trust it. It's a great system, but people don't trust it yet.
I'm not fully familiar with it, but
Yeah.
I think in a lot of these cases, you have to generate the benefits for the users. You have to show it with the benefit.
Right.
So tomorrow, when I go get a driver's license,
Right.
I'm giving up some privacy.
Yep.
But I do it because
Yeah.
I can drive and I see the
Right.
benefits of it.
Right.
So I think the challenge for Aadhaar is you have to show use cases on top of it, why that collective benefit and the good that comes out of it far outweighs the privacy you give up for it, and then you have to put checks and balances to make sure it works well.
I'm going to ask you to one day write 5 checks and balances Aadhaar needs. Not right now.
I'm happy to look at it, but I think you have very smart people looking at it as well.
Yeah, but also you're worried that some so smart that you worry about what their intentions are.
Yeah.
You know? But it is like electronic voting machines in India. It's an area, I mean, I think they're the most wonderful machine. They're not connected to the internet, can't be hacked, but nobody trusts them. I mean, the losers don't trust them.
Yeah, it's
if you
funny.
lose an election, it's wrong.
I look at the fact, I wish we had electronic voting machines here in the US.
Yeah.
And so I think in general, assuming you can, you do it thoughtfully from a security standpoint, I can see the benefits they bring.
It's wonderful. You can't really do booth capturing anymore, which was a problem. It's much more fair. Our elections are much fairer. And I really agree. America doesn't have it. We should export it here. It's a great machine, probably done by an IIT guy. Coming to another, oh wow, look at this. This is
kind of lights up as you step on it.
This is like Michael Jackson, right?
We are not going to do Beat It now, or Billie Jean, rather.
Okay, let me just find about something, whether you can... now you can...
Oh, you asked me to dance. You'll have to work harder than that.
You don't like this song?
The song seems great. That's Shah Rukh Khan, I can see.
Yeah.
Telephone Hour. I haven't seen the movie yet, but...
Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
So here we are. I don't think
I think viewers in India have
there will be a complete switch off.
Better options.
Okay, just to talk about an issue which you faced a bit of, a controversy here about diversity. And there was a person who wrote on you have such an open system here. He wrote saying that women can't make good engineers, to paraphrase. And you sacked him. I totally agree with it. A lot of people don't agree with it. There's freedom of speech, but how far does freedom of speech go?
Yeah. Look, it's important to understand, within the context of a company, things are different than a society or a nation.
Right.
As a company, we have values, and we, given what we do, we cherish diversity. We value freedom of speech.
Right.
But in the context of a company, you have to balance it against another important freedom, the right for someone to come and work free of discrimination and harassment and have equal opportunity to succeed.
Right.
And so I think we have to balance that. And in this case, I felt it had gone too far.
Yes.
But hopefully out of it came good debates, and I think makes people realize, how important these values are. And overall, I think it was a good debate externally that played out too.
Yeah, it was a great debate. I was a little surprised because the United States prides itself on diversity.
That's right.
I mean, look at California. It's fantastic and it's boomed as a result of diversity. And yet there were people who were saying, is this a new America? Is there like change happening?
U.S. also has one of the strongest constitutionally enshrined protections of freedom of speech as well.
Yes, yes.
And so I think, we live in polarized times. There's a lot of debates going on outside. Right. And so there was some conflation of what happens within a company in the context of how you interpret it outside. Right. But I think, company, a workplace, is different, and we do, have values, and we expect our employees to stay true to that values.
I think I totally agree with you, and I think the old America, but I'm not old, I'm 5 years old, also had that socially. There was a lot of diversity, a lot of pride in the diversity, support for diversity.
I would still say, I'm very optimistic because we look at every indicators. America is more diverse than ever before. And so I think that's an inherent part of the American fabric. I don't expect that to change.
So I'll admit that I'm an admirer of America. I think it's a wonderful education system and it's a wonderful, diverse society. Having said that, I just don't understand with this education, how did you vote Trump? I can't understand it. I'm serious.
Look, I mean, it's the best way I would say it is a democratic process,
Yeah.
and the process plays out, and I think President Trump clearly communicated a set of concerns which many Americans are feeling, right? And with the rapid growth we have had, not all sections of society have felt it.
Yes.
And there have been clear manufacturing job losses for a while. Yeah. So I think he did focus on important issues, I think, which played a bigger role in the election outcome.
His reasons or the causes of those problems were like, it's those immigrants that are doing it, but that's not the real reason. So how did America fall for it? And anyway, what he's done is made CNN its first $1 billion profit. He's the best thing that happened to media. But don't you feel...
You've covered politics for a long time. There's political rhetoric in the context of an election. So you probably know it better than I do. So.
Yeah, and he just doesn't quite fit in with my view of America. Well, I thought Obama was just wonderful, wonderful man. You're nodding, meaning you agree? I don't say.
Look, I mean, I'm not here to talk politics, right? I know. But I deeply respect a democratic process, and I think it's important we do that and not use democracy at times when we like the outcome. Right, and I think it's important you cherish the foundation of it.
So since we're on this jazzy floor, right, I'm going to ask you rapid fire questions. You had them before, and you just handle them with your usual calm aplomb and humor. So I'll ask you 10 quick questions with one word answers. In the time you spend every day, what percentage of time is managing people and what percentage is looking after technology?
I would love to spend a lot more time on technology, but at the scale of Google and what I do, people are the most important resource we have. So I try to get great products built through people. So I just spend more of my time with people, slightly more than 50-50, I would say, in favor of people.
So 70-30? But people, I've
60,
heard
40.
that they have to catch you out of the tech rooms and say, look, there's...
I'm a product person, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of people, so...
So just looking quickly at the future, what's going to be your path? Google Home, or is there going to be a watch? Or how are we going to move from the phone to something else?
I think the beauty of what I think of as the AI-first world is we don't have to decide, users don't have to decide. Computing will be there when you want it, when you get into your car, when you go to your home, working for you. So I think this notion of ambient computing, which is there to help.
Computing, yeah.
So it can be in
which
the context
Google
of a
Home
watch,
kind of thing, or the watch, or anything.
Watch, or you get into your car and it's built in.
So explain ambient computing very quickly for.
Today computing meant you had to go to a device, turn it on, work with that device.
Yeah.
But to me, ambient computing is that you're going about your day-to-day life. Computing is there working for you. Right. So if I run into someone and I need to speak from Hindi to English, it can happen, right? Yeah. And so we have to figure out what it is. It may be a watch, it may be a headphone. If you're in home and kitchen, it's something like Google Home, or the TV. Any screen in front of you can help you when it needs to. So we will do the hard work as a user.
We'll enjoy it.
That's right.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
So what would you say, like, oh gosh, Sachin Tendulkar walks in. What would he say? He walks up to you. What would you say to him? I know he's your favorite.
No, I literally remember him, his debut series, and watching it. Around the time I started watching you, so you guys both lined up, and it would be a privilege.
What would you say to him?
I don't know. Maybe I would try to go play with him cricket if I could do that. Sure. That would be an honor. So.
And just after him, who's that? Oh yeah, that's Deepika Padukone walking in.
She's literally walked through here. She came here. And,
so if she walked in now, what would you say to her?
Last time when she came to Google. And
you interviewed her, right?
That's right, except she had lost her voice. Oh. I think, so she completely lost her voice. So, it's a bit unfortunate, but she's remarkable.
You haven't told me what you'd say to her.
What would I say to her?
Don't say I'm your biggest fan,
which
you are.
I would ask her out for dinner.
Okay, great. And I'm sure she'd learn a lot from that. Wonderful. Just in your daily life, what's the last YouTube video you watched?
You wouldn't believe it, but coincidentally, because in YouTube you have recommendations, and I do follow cricket. Yeah. Oh. Last night, somehow...
You saw Deepika Padukone playing cricket.
Not quite. There was a video recommended to me of one of Virat Kohli's fastest hundreds.
Okay.
I think he scored 100 or 52 balls or something like that. So I got to watch
You're a
that.
fan of his. He's remarkable.
Remarkable.
Talent, wonderful talent.
And Indian cricket has progressed so much. It's quite the depth of the lineup.
But I used to hate seeing India goes down fighting. Goes on fighting. That was the biggest. But now we win.
I always used to be so worried about Sachin getting out. That's how I watched, right? Like
tension.
Tension. But now I look at the depth of the lineup. It's a lot more fun.
Okay, October the 4th. One hint of what's going to come.
What I mentioned earlier. Maybe you will see an update to our Pixel phones and our home products. But as an accessory, we are also working on what I think of as magic earphones.
Wow.
Something which can do a little bit more than what normal headphones can do.
Sounds bloody exciting. I'm going to be watching. You did a beautiful talk, the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I'll be there this time too.
Yeah, I wonder whether you practice a lot for it, because it just came to you like you've done it for years.
No, it's what I do for work every day,
Yeah,
so I
you
get
know
to
it
talk
inside
about
out.
it, and
Yeah.
so it's like you doing this interview.
No, you're actually almost interviewing me. I think. 2 more questions on the rapid fire. What's a bad day for Sundar Pichai look like?
I get so excited coming to work. The choice of what we can do at scale.
Yeah.
So normally I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Oh, lovely.
Bad day just means I didn't get to do what I wanted to do that day, or it was just a busy day. But I have the perspective to know that there's nothing like a very bad day.
Means you haven't had enough time with the tech guys, right? I can
that's,
feel that.
That's about it. Yeah.
You can't build a product.
If I just spent it in meetings and I didn't deal with any product reviews or something like that, I would call that a bad day.
So you have to ward off all these people who are taking you to meetings rather than allowing you to build products.
More or less.
Good for you. Wow, that's an IIT backup. When you put your head on the pillow at night, what concerns or worries you? I'm serious about that.
No, it is. I think we are, historically the world has progressed to a place where we have a more global framework and countries are coming together.
Right.
I think there are recent forces which are pulling countries apart.
Yeah.
While I'm optimistic, but it's something I worry when I put my head in that. Do we leave the world a better place for our children than when we as a generation?
Like what we left for you is lovely pollution, but we left you democracy.
We left. I think the generation before us in India sacrificed a lot to give us the life we had.
Unfortunately, we came in then and then gave you pollution. That's the trouble. Last question is, what do you miss about not living in India? I mean, you live in paradise. We're going to show some shots. This weather's perfect, locations with no pollution here. But what do you miss about not living
For
there?
me, I always felt I miss the people, the vibrancy, the noise.
Yeah?
It's so quiet around here. So I every time I go to India and I come back, that's what I miss. And everything
Really?
feels silent. So I miss the people, the vibrancy, the life, the colors and the sounds of India.
And when we talked about democracy and we're talking about the diversity of India, so the 2 big Ds, what's wonderful about India, the democracy and the diversity. Are you a little worried that diversity may be changing a bit? There's not enough focus, support for diversity like you have here? I mean, Google has, and of course America too.
I think one of that, it's amazing when, I think if I look at all the difficult times India has gone through, something about India, the scale of the people and how distributed it is, the different states and the different cultures.
Right.
So the only way India can work is by somehow keeping it all together. And there is this magic, it has figured out a way to do it over time. So I think, I have faith in that system, something deeper than all of us, I think, which will keep it together for a long time.
And people might try to affect the diversity, but you feel there is
I think the forces which will bring it together are, far bigger than anything which can pull it apart.
That's why you've always been an optimist, right? That's why you build crazy ideas and they become reality.
Yeah, I'm an optimist, but I think it's important to remember if you look at the world through any arc of time, things have gotten much, much better. So
Yeah. So when in your time, just last, say you were an IIT, at that time religion didn't matter, caste didn't matter. You didn't know what people's caste were at that time, did you?
To be very clear, when we were in IIT too, I had grown up. There were sectarian riots in Hyderabad, and and so I think we've always had to work through difficult challenges as a country, and so I think it's important to
focus on
what
keeping
matters.
together,
Yeah.
focus on the diversity.
If it's India, I would focus on creating economic growth, creating jobs, and creating prosperity, and driving GDP growth higher so that more people can be better off.
But not at the cost of diversity, right?
No, but I think doing that is what will prevent, other forces taking hold of people.
One thing that does worry us, and I wonder what your answer to that is, social media in India is acting now as a negative force. There's a lot of hate, there's a lot of rumors, there's false news. How do you tackle that? How should one tackle that?
Yes, Google, we are particularly focused on that. Search has always been about trying to give the most truthful representation of
So
anything
you have
we
ways
can
to filter that?
We feel, and it's an area where we use machine learning very, very importantly. We recently launched from our Jigsaw team an effort called Perspective, which actually analyzes online posts for toxicity, hateful speech, and can actually moderate it out. So the New York Times now uses it for their comment section and so on.
Wow,
so I think we all have to work hard to make sure these tools get used for the good of humanity, not otherwise.
And it is possible, because at the moment it is a big worry in India. Social media is just hate.
I think I think it's something we all focus on it and thoughtfully work hard to make it better.
Well, I hope we have the same solutions that you brought here and built this wonderful place over the years. I want to ask you, when you're in your interviews for CEO, what did they ask you? I know your interview to join Google, where you couldn't answer three interviews you were, but here for CEO, they must have gone through a process. What did they ask you?
I mean, it wasn't a formal interview process.
Because they knew about it,
I
of course.
worked with Larry and Sergey and the founders for a long time.
Right.
So probably it's a question to be asked of them. So.
Well, what did they ask you? What did anything unnerve you?
Both Larry and Sergey are always focused on what we can do.
Right.
Something that's ambitious and would really meaningfully make something better for users. So most of our conversations are focused on how we can do things to change things for better. So we rarely talk about other things.
And when did they tell you, and how did they tell you?
It was just a thoughtful conversation over a period of time, and in terms of.
And it was going, but you weren't 100% sure.
It wasn't a discrete step as much as
Right.
As formally thoughtful.
But there were many in the running.
Yeah, we had talked internally. It was much more about I think it was more of a natural transition. I was running products
Give us
before.
one quote, memorable quote of what happened during that, and then when you became CEO. You normally forget bad things. You remember all the lovely things.
Maybe it's almost like I thought I was doing the job. So when they told me, in some ways it was a process. It was more continual than discrete. So I actually didn't even stop to think about it. I was back at work the next day, continuing to work, and so it was more bigger news externally than how it played out internally.
But one quote?
Quote about it. I don't know. Maybe nothing.
Nothing stands out.
Yeah.
But many congratulations. I'm sure they came up to you and said, "Congratulations, you're the next CEO."
Yeah.
And you've done a great job as CEO. They must be telling you that now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time and
Thank you.
and appreciate it.
There are
And
about 60,000 people waiting for you. There's about 60,000 Google.
about 70,000.
70,000. Oh, sorry, 1 week late. I'm 1 week out of date. Thank you very much indeed. God
Thanks,
bless
Dr.
you.
Roy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.